Alright, good morning, everybody. Okay, so today's date is March 27th, 2021. Please excuse the coughing. Alright, bear with me a minute. Now, listen, I want to let my viewers know that recently, in the past month, I've made, I don't know, maybe 10 videos dedicated to this particular account, and I know of, as of right now, I'm aware of 2 that were either edited by the perpetrators or they stopped the video from continuing to broadcast as a result of intentional cell phone signal jamming. Google my descriptions to gang stalking. Now, we gotta understand, well, first of all, let me do a reset here. I was gonna segue into a statement, but let me do a reset here. First of all, if this video doesn't, if this video roughly stops before I say thank you for listening, have a good day, still research what I've stated up to that point, and notate the attached YouTube URL link that I pasted in the title of this Periscope video, because that's a video that is dedicated to a playlist from Dr. Catherine Horton's YouTube channel, and the title of that playlist is Techno Crime Fighters. Now, that's video number 58. And one of the main reasons why I like to paste that video's URL link is because of what is exposed in that particular video. But you should also know that every single video that is made, that is placed within the Techno Crime Fighters video series playlist is absolutely equally important. Now, let me just kind of segue into the subject matter. Oh, shoot, hang on a second. I'm a little physically distracted right now, which kind of is contributing to a little bit of disruptions here, so bear with me. I'm trying to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, you know, making a video while I'm getting other things done, because my schedule is so congested. All of that because of this crime, the engineered circumstances that I'm forced to live in and through. This crime intentionally made me homeless in 4 apartments in Michigan and 1 in Tennessee, and I've stated in excuse me, please, many of my videos that this crime has engaged in illegal federal crimes, which include interstate stalking. That's a federal offense. When you're crossing state lines to commit a crime, it is a federal offense. And when you're stalking across state lines, it's also a federal offense. But I got a feeling, since this is a nationwide organized crime syndicate, massively exposed to be in the system, well, all they basically probably do is use electronic means to stalk the victim. One syndicate that's in a state, like say if you're being gang stalked in Michigan and you decide to move to Connecticut, since it's a nationwide up and operating concerning what's implicated online on a massive scale, when a victim moves from one state to another, let's just say from Michigan to Connecticut, the organized crime syndicate within the system will notify the organized crime syndicate that it is networked to in Connecticut that the victim is planning on leaving Michigan to go to Connecticut. That way, when the victim arrives in Connecticut, the organized crime program of gang stalking will just continue, including in many of the same identical ways that the victim endured it in Michigan. Now, that's got to do with brain entrainment, which has been thoroughly discussed in many prior videos dedicated to this account. And, you know, when you first become a victim of this crime, you can be a victim of this crime for a decade or more without even knowing that you're being victimized through gang stalking, because a lot of times you can be victimized through gang stalking without the community-based harassment. Your life can absolutely be socially infiltrated through this crime, including through respectable environments like churches, charities, and much more. And I can't get too far off into, trust me, when you're talking about this crime, it's extremely easy to get sidetracked in details and sub-details of the details pertaining to one description. So I can see that that's kind of where this is going, so I'm just going to kind of stop that statement there concerning the interstate stalking and what this crime is capable of connected to that, and obviously the tracking of the victim and affording the resources and the techniques that was used against the victim in one state into the so that the same things can be done to the victim in the state they're going into. And there's many different ways that these satanic whores who host this crime can be made aware of that the victim is planning on moving by looking at their phone activity, by looking at their computer activity. Case in point, just a fast example, say if you're going to take a Greyhound bus or an Amtrak train from Michigan to Connecticut. Well, they can see you're looking up those routes and schedules online. They can see through many different means of criminal surveillance, including extremely criminal surveillance. Including extremely sophisticated criminal surveillance, including remote neural monitoring. They can also use many different forms of very sophisticated surveillance to ascertain that you're preparing to move. I mean, what do we do when we move from our apartment to another apartment, or from our apartment to your parents' house, or whatever? We start packing up. So what this crime does, I'm going to wrap this statement up right here, is what these demonic mass murdering human trafficking animals do is that every bit of gang stalking, every single thing that is done against each gang stalking victim is done by and through massive assistance of the illegal criminal surveillance of the victim. And trust me when I say, if you go into this account and you research my videos, if you research my descriptions I expose, if you research the attached links within the titles of them, then when you start really delving in also to your own independent research concerning this crime, you will see that there is no way that not one gang stalking victim out of the hundreds and hundreds of thousands of victims in America right now, tens of thousands of those online exposing this crime daily and on all social online platforms, there is not one victim out of all these victims can experience not one aspect of this crime without criminal surveillance. There's no way. So the surveillance and the GPS tracking and the all the different means that are used for the different types of surveillance is the stalking of gang stalking. Now, they track you in order to gang up on you using anybody and everybody. Anybody of any type of, any walk of life, any race, including any place the victim goes to. That's the gang of gang stalking, where they're using more than one person. And I'm even going to go as far as making this additional statements, because to my regular followers, you need to understand that sometimes people who are watching these videos, my videos, are first-time viewers. So I always try to give a little small preliminary introduction to what gang stalking is, so they can kind of say, okay, well, oh, geez, I don't want them to believe that this is a woman or any other victim is being stalked by a gang. The first type of gangs that the type of gangs that you might first think of. That's even mentioned in the news broadcast, one of many that you can watch on YouTube by going to YouTube and typing in gang stalking bullying on steroids. Even a news broadcaster openly said it's not the gangs that you first might think of. Now, you can, in the crime of gang stalking, let's say if they stage an event against a victim, anywhere, it doesn't matter where the victim's at. If they stage an event against the victim using only one person, that still can be looked at as part of the gang of gang stalking. Why? Because that one person is being used by a second person. At least one other person. So when you look at how that other person they're colluding with is directly connected to the crime syndicate, which is a big group, then what you got to understand is that individual is also getting his instructions from other people. So there's a lot involved in this. So just because one other person who stays covert is privately colluding with and conspiring to use another person against the victim, that still can be considered the gang of gang stalking. Because the person who's being used, whether it's a syndicate member or not, which I'd say at least 97% of all people used against a gang stalking victim concerning the harassment the victim endures throughout the community, I'd say anywhere between 94 to 97% of those individuals are mostly either just dupe citizens, paid off thugs, criminals that might be involved in other criminal activity, whether they're loosely connected to gangs or not. Okay. Paid off people, and then syndicate wannabes. Hold on one second. Including syndicate wannabes. I'd say anywhere between, let's just say 92 to 96% of all people used against the victim concerning what the victim endures during and throughout the community-based harassment are just paid off and duped idiots. Let me just interject a little bit more into this so you can kind of see what I'm talking about here, because this does matter. When you're trying to educate people about this crime, we want to be able to let our viewers walk away with with as much of a thorough understanding, a more comprehensive understanding concerning any and all aspects of this crime. Because then that way they're going to be able to come to a more accurate conclusion. They're going to see, it's going to assist them in seeing the truth of the matters. So just bear with me. I'm going to spend about 2 or 3 minutes making this statement so you can kind of see really fast about how easy it is to dupe a person, a victim, into believing that everybody who's playing a role, everybody who's playing a role in what's being perpetrated against them through the community-based harassment, and also other individuals, hold on, are people who are approached and used, who are probably more than likely not part of this organized crime syndicate, just being used by it. So just bear with me. Now remember, if this video does not publish in its entirety, you should also know that as long as the perpetrators don't hack into my downloads file folder in my phone, my Periscope videos do get saved too in a video format to my downloads file folder, which then enables me to upload it to YouTube. Now, they can edit it from there too, which they've done on multiple different phones. But so always remember that if a Periscope video abruptly stops before I say thank you for listening, have a good day, then there's a more than likely that they either intentionally, remotely, interrupted my cell phone signal in order to stop that broadcast, okay? So that you would not be able to hear what was exposed. And I've seen these satanic rats literally even edit the middle of a video, where they edited a portion of it and then allowed the video to continue to broadcast, probably meaning that they edited the video right after it was published and just had the ability to do it that fast. I don't know. I'm not sitting behind a desk where they're at, so I don't know what type of technology that they can use in order to do that. But I've literally seen videos edited within seconds, dedicated to other Periscope accounts. Literally. That is no joke. Literally. So just bear with me. So you should know that as long as I'm able to still publish through Periscope, there was 2 videos dedicated to this account that did not get fully published. But they were saved. Luckily, they were saved in my downloads file, and I just uploaded those videos to YouTube in the past week, including 2 yesterday. Okay? Well, one of the 2 yesterday, but I did download 2 videos yesterday, but one of those 2 videos were one of the videos that did not get, that were not able to be published in its whole through this account. And I believe the video was an hour and 18 minutes long, but it's showing up in this account as 27 or 29 minutes long. Okay, so I uploaded that to the Higgins Williams YouTube account, which I've talked about how you can find that in previous, just recently made videos, and in Exposing Court's YouTube channel. And in the very near future, I will take those YouTube URL links and copy and paste them and put them in an upcoming Periscope video title before March 31st. I might even do that tomorrow, as long as nothing happens to disrupt my schedule. Now, let me go back to my statement here concerning what I stated a minute ago about how, well, I'm going to give you an example so you can outwardly immediately see the fact that there's a great chance that let's just say between 90% and 94% of the individuals who are used to harass a gang stalking victim, when the victim is out and about in the community, are probably just paid off thugs, paid off punks. That's when they use those types of people for certain specific skits that are played out in the technique that's called street theaters. Hold on one second. Now, and I don't know if you're noticing a lot in the background. You're hearing some intermittent muffler noise going on. And I don't know if I'm going to get into talking about that in this particular video, because I don't want to get too sidetracked concerning the original subject matter, the intention of the original subject matter. But I did want to make a verbal notation concerning it in case I do decide to make some comments about it. Now, so bear with me. So to give you an idea about how one additional thing that can help you see, even though the internet is going to introduce you to the fact that it's mostly just dupe community members that are being used to apply gang stalking techniques towards the target, but mostly just around the target, concerning the target on a daily basis, is this simpler concept. So listen carefully. Just hear me out. Now, say if you're a teenager, you're 18 years old, and you go and you get a job at a Little Caesars. And then you work there a couple months and you get promoted to assistant manager. Now, when you get promoted to assistant manager, you're going to start learning quite a bit more about how that business is run at the management level. Therefore, you're going to learn about sales, labor dollars, inventory, and the management of schedules, and the management of order placing concerning the product itself, so that the product can come in, so it can be made, so it can be sold. So just hear me out, and you'll understand. Now, so when you become assistant manager for let's just say a pizzeria in general, well, you're gonna be given more responsibility concerning the management of the store. And part of that management is being able to make sure that you control the labor dollars spent, so that they do not exceed the amount that is brought in from sales. Because so if you're spending too much on labor, then that's going to eat up into that those costs will then start taking away from the profit margin. So when you get a job at a pizzeria, you're going to notice that your manager is scheduling people to work certain specific hours, and each shift is going to have a certain amount of people that work there. And it's always going to be kept to a minimum pertaining to how previous sales have went on, and that gives you an idea to project about how sales will be in the future. If it's real busy on a Friday afternoon and Friday night, that's because people are ordering pizzas at the end of the week, and they want to be able to sit back and relax and maybe watch a movie or a football game. So a pizzeria will know that Friday nights are you have a lot of large sales. Okay? So then you're going to, on that night, have a couple extra workers in order to be able to meet that demand. Now, the reason why I brought this up, I know this is elementary for you, but just trust me, you'll see the meaning behind it in a minute. Now, the reason why this is elementary is because what you got to understand about gang stalking is that it can take a little bit, it can take a little while concerning a margin of the victims, a certain amount of the victims that are part of the whole number of victims, for them to start making money off that victim. Now, when you look at, so let's say if you got one victim who goes out and about in the community at 9 a.m. in the morning, and they go to 5 different businesses, and then at each business, 10 or 15 people are propped up around that victim in order to harass the victim, let's just say using 3 different techniques: dark neurolinguistic programming, DNLP, the sensitization method, and the direct conversation method. Now, these are 15 people put at each of these 5 places. 15 different people at each place. So how much is 15 times 5? I personally don't feel like doing the math right now in my head, but just look at that number. Now, imagine that happening 3-4 times a week against the same victim for 1 week. Look at how many people that is. Let's say if the victim goes to 4 stores 3 times a week, and 15 people at least are propped up around that victim in order to apply the just aforementioned 3 applied techniques against the victim, which are gang stalking techniques: DNLP, the direct conversation method, and the sensitization method. Look at how many people that is against one victim, a victim that they're not making any money off of yet. So I think you now possibly can start seeing, how are these people being paid to do this? Well, some are being maybe bartered with. Some are being bargained with. Some are being told lies and are doing it just because they've been told lies and feel a sense of civic duty to do a specific thing around a person concerning that person, because they've been lied to and they think they're doing their own civic duty. And just research slander and gang stalking, you'll start to get a better understanding of what I mean by that. But now, what you got to understand here is that there's also been companies that have been notated by extremely educated victims to be companies that are hiring people for role-playing. And that role-playing that service is then being used in order to use people for gang stalking. Now, I'd say anywhere between 60 to 85, maybe 85% of all people used in gang stalking are being given something. Okay? They're being given something. Let's say between 60 and 85% are being given something, but let's cut that back down to, let's say, 45 to 55 are being paid money in the form of gift cards, cash, or whatever, and then the other amount that was between the 60 what did I say, 40 to 65, are possibly being like maybe they're being given more hours at work, or more overtime, or maybe a better shift that they wanted because maybe their family needs them to be home at night. So there's a lot of bartering going on. There's a lot of paying off going on, and there's a lot of management of it, a lot of collusion to steer it off. You go into a grocery store and the deli manager is using a deli employee to gaslight you. What would get that deli employee to gaslight you? With gang stalking techniques that I just described a few minutes ago. So there's a whole bunch of different ways that these satanic bitches, these criminally insane mass murdering animals, please excuse my language, can get different people to do things around the victim, concerning the victim, to force the victim to notice it either through your eyes or ears, in order to make that victim feel like everywhere they go, they're being subject to the techniques that are being applied against them, whether that victim knows these techniques are associated to gang stalking or not. But let's go back to take a look at the ones who are paid off, either through gift cards and or cash. Now, even when you look at that amount, there is no way one organized crime syndicate who's using one cash register to pay those amount of people against that one victim that they're not making money off of yet. That would mean that the labor dollars are massively, much more than the money they're taking in. Okay? So, what does that help you conclude when you look at this one aspect of this crime? Well, it can help you conclude three things actually. One, tax dollars are being used to help fund it. Two, you got maybe some still mixed in with that percentage rate of people being bartered with and lied to motivate them to do it. Okay, hold on one second. Okay, and then now hold on one second. I just lost my train of thought because I was doing something physically and I got distracted, and so my mind kind of went in that direction. So bear with me a second. So now, we know that no business is going to spend more. Okay, we know that no business is going to spend more money to try and make money, knowing that spending the money will possibly, the techniques that are applied against the victim will help ensure and basically they will literally make sure that the brain entrainment takes place, which is one of the main reasons why this is going on. But it can still take quite a while for that victim to start producing money for the syndicate. So all this money being spent strongly suggests tax dollars being used. It strongly suggests that possibly a pool of money is being gathered together by all the different connected partners who are participating in this. Corporations, government, organized crime in both. Because it's organized crime in the system that's hosting this at the end of the day. So, and then all the other different ways that the syndicate makes money too, through a bunch of illegal operations, can also be used in funding the overall program. But so this should kind of, in a sense, open your eyes a little bit about how this is able to be managed. If you're following a victim of gang stalking online for 5 years and you notice that they're still making videos predicting what they might endure in the future, and yet though the victim is not being currently physically exploited sexually or through labor, then you may say to yourself, well, how long is it going to take for this organized crime syndicate to exploit this victim to make money off them? Well, they could be making money off the victim remotely by and through selling the research data that they're harvesting from the victim as a result of them using remote neural monitoring on the victim's brain and biology as they're torturing the victim through directed energy weapons. And then when they see the result of the data from the brain being observed as the victim is enduring the torture, and the body, the data of what the body is processing when the body is enduring the directed energy weapons of torture and the ultrasonic sound bone conduction torture, when the body and brain is being intruded on remotely through these remote techs, they can see it on their remote neural monitoring and then take that data and sell it to research groups. So they can already absolutely be making hundreds of thousands of dollars off that one victim by selling that research data to massive amounts. We're talking even hundreds of different research entities. Okay? So they can be already making money off that victim without the outwardly apparent. If the victim is not saying, I just got human trafficked yesterday by an asshole, or I just got raped yesterday, and I think that they videotaped the rape and sold it to pornography groups in order to make tens of thousands of dollars by making copies of it and selling it to multiple different websites on the dark web. Just hear me out. You want to stay with this video. Now, so there's many ways that this crime makes money off the victim, but it can still, though, let's say if you got a victim who's not a victim yet of non-consensual human experimentation occurring to gang stalking victims, which is why, in part, why they're using the direct energy weapons, the electromagnetic weapons, projected EMF fields, and much more. So I wanted to interject this here to you to help you see that the only way that this crime could target hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people, yet though each victim, money is not made off them immediately, how then are they able to use so many people against the victim? Because a good majority of these people being used are being paid. So how are they being paid if the amount of people they're using far surpasses the amount of victims? Because remember, 15 people at each place, the victim goes to 4 or 5 places in one day, and they go out 4 times a week. Look at how many people that is against one victim. Look at the cost involved in paying each one of those people, or at least half of them, even. Okay? So you might say to yourself, so then who's got the money to fund that kind of operation? Well, who do you think? When you pay your property taxes and your sales tax and your income tax, bada boom. When you have a big, gigantic, organized crime syndicate like this, because it's not just the government that's doing this alone. They're doing it with the cooperation of corporations, institutions, research groups, and much more. So, and you got to look at when they're exploiting and making money off the other victims in this crime who are already being monetized, meaning that they're making money off them. The money made from that, probably a good portion of it goes to the organized crime syndicate itself, and then another portion of that goes back into the pool of money that is then used to fund the gang stalking of other people, of other victims. So now I think you have just a small breakdown, a small idea of where this funding is coming from in order, because think about what I'm saying. It takes a lot of money. It takes a lot of money to fund gang stalking. And they're never going to say to themselves that we're spending more money than we're bringing in. Because they wouldn't be, hold on. Because this crime is a little epidemic all over America. So they're not going to go and take the chance and torture and mass murder hundreds of thousands of people. Because most victims end up dead, eventually. Directly because of this crime. Okay, so they're not going to spend the money to set this program up. You would not believe the work that would have to be involved in setting something like this up just against one person, let alone hundreds of thousands. It's massive. And that's just the work of perpetrating the crime. The work to protect it is also massive. The collusion and conspiracy involved in all of it is extremely massive. Okay, so you got to look at when you look at the end game of gang stalking in part, it's basically slavery and exploitation against all victims. Slavery and exploitation, that's it. Including making money off the victim's intentionally induced death. So they're looking at, and gang stalking is involved in so many different crime motivations, hundreds of them. Okay, you got to look at, they just look at this at the end of the day to where they, look, your tax dollars are being used by organized crime in the system to fund something that then turns around, okay, and generates money to specific groups. Let me just make one more expansive detail here to maybe open your eyes a little bit to another issue that could possibly be going on concerning gang stalking. When you look at how money is given to certain aspects of the military, including possibly DARPA, these are possible. I'm not implicating nobody directly, but what I'm saying though is that when you have, like, when President Obama did the initiation of the BRAIN Initiative, he dedicated over $400 million to it. And that's basically where the study of the brain. But at the end of the day, it's nothing but brain mapping. Okay, brain mapping's already been achieved, trust me. Oh, absolutely. But check this out. Now, whenever any entity wants to do anything, like the military or anything that any part of the government wants to do, and they need money to fund it, they got to go to Congress. to get that money. And they got to sit before a hearing and say why they want the money. Because why they want the money has got to be legal. Okay? Oh, absolutely. I mean, remember the Iran-Contra stuff going on? Do you really think that they got money from Congress, okay, to fund that sick stuff? No. They got it from illegal, what was it, illegal drug trafficking and illegal arms trafficking. Okay? So, I think what you should understand is that where is at least part of the money going that's being made off of gang-stalking crimes? Let me give you an illustration of what I mean. Consider this and consider this well. When you got a disabled American who's on Social Security, they also get federal medical insurance. It's called Medicare, right? So when they get Medicare and they get on their bike and they go down the street and a car hits them or causes them to fall off the bike and they break their leg, and they then are picked up by an ambulance and sent to a medical center, a medical clinic, or a hospital. Do you have any idea how much money can be made at that facility to treat a broken leg? The x-rays, okay, the resetting the leg, the follow-up therapy. We're talking about way over $10,000. Now, to the best of my knowledge, there's only about two maybe additional follow-up visits concerning the time that the victim arrived at the hospital, that visit, and then 2 other ones before that victim finally walks away with their leg healed. But yet that place makes way over $10,000. So, think about what I'm about ready to say here. If you have a little luncheon with your friends and they come over and visit you for 2 hours, and then they leave, and then maybe a month later they come back for 2 hours, and then they leave, and then maybe a week later they come back for 2 hours, that's 6 hours. So, do you really think that 6 hours worth of work is worth $10,000? And trust me when I say more. Well, of course it is. How long do you think it would take a drug dealer to make $10,000? A low-level street drug dealer to make $10,000. How much? So that person then can be considered as a straw person for this organized crime syndicate. So when you go to Google and you research doctors, hospitals, medical centers, medical clinics, you're going to start to see some of the medical insurance fraud schemes connected to gang stalking. So now you're seeing one avenue of money of how they're making money off of victims. Now, where does that money end up at? Yes, a good portion of it ends up in the doctor's hands. But who owns the medical centers and medical clinics? Okay? Or who might be stockholders in these places? Are the names on concerning who owns them actually the real owners, or are they just front people for the actual real people that own them? You know, in many of the Techno Crime Fighters, I've seen at least in 2 of the Techno Crime Fighters video series videos dedicated to the playlist of the video that's in the title of this Periscope video, shows people openly say that DHS owns a lot of these medical clinics that gang stalking victims are being forwarded to after accidents, and because of the treating the torture they endure. Okay? So, my fellow American citizens, when I tell you that when you got illegal programs going on, the transhumanism objectives that are going on concerning gang stalking, okay? We're talking about some of the most extreme, sophisticated human experimentation that the human family has ever, okay, endured in the entire history of the human race. Okay, I have literally seen videos online and even have got the audio of them that openly shows ex-CIA scientists openly say that the transhumanism agendas and the research that is happening to gang stalking victims, because victims are being used for non-consensual human experimentation, and some of that experimentation has to do with the transhumanism agenda. What is going on right now in transhumanism and in the bioengineering field concerning the revolution of it is bigger than the 3 following things. How the internet transformed society, how cars and trains and airplanes transformed society, and how vaccinations transform society. Now, when you look at, if you ever do any research concerning what the world was like before these three main inventions, you will see that massively changed the direction of the human race on a massive scale. Well, there's ex-CIA scientists right now on the internet literally saying that what's happening to gang stalking victims and the reasons why what's happening to gang stalking victims is to eventually create the technology to perfect it through the research that will transform this world hundreds of times larger than all three of those inventions that transform society that never then end. I mean, we were using horses and carriages before the automobile. Look at how the automobile transformed society. It transformed industry, it transformed manufacturing, it transformed everything around the world. The internet has transformed everything, and we all know that if you've been living long enough to know it. Say if you're in your mid-30s, 40s, and 50s. You should know by now that the internet has changed everything. And then what else did I say? Vaccinations. That played a big role in transforming the world because it stopped a lot of pandemics. So hear me out. Even though I do not agree with the current vaccine for COVID-19 at all, but just hear me out. When you look at how the world massively transformed from those inventions by themselves forever, well, what's happening to gang stalking victims is literally helping to perfect weaponry and industry that is 100 times bigger than all three of those transformations that took place between automobile industry, internet, and vaccination. When you look at how those three things transformed society forever, and it never went back to its older ways, what's happening to gang stalking victims is assisting in developing technology that will transform the entire world hundreds of times bigger than all those three other transformations forever. So do you honestly think that what's happening to gang stalking victims is not real? When they need money to do illegal, non-consensual human experimentation against a human being, where they're literally creating cyborgs. Look at the title of this Periscope video. They're literally creating cyborgs. You should watch the movie The Beyond. The Human 2.0 Project. Google that to gang stalking. Project 2045. Google that to gang stalking. Okay? When you really start to dive into the non-consensual human experimentation that gang stalking victims are enduring, remote viewing is another one of them. Transhumanism, the biorobotization of gang stalking victims, your mind is going to be blown. So, my fellow American citizens, in closing, the satanic rats that are doing this to gang stalking victims are doing it with every single thing that is happening to gang stalking victims is extremely criminal. All of the non-consensual human experimentation is nothing but extreme, sadistic, demented, depraved torture, nonstop. Okay? Consider this. When you watch the movie, and I know this is going to sound a little bit funny, but just trust me on this. When you watch the movie The Beyond, you're going to see where something happened, something entered the Earth's atmosphere, and it started two different things, actually. And it started since the human population was not able to figure out why it was there and what it was there for, well, it was natural for the human race to respond to it as a threatening situation. So, just watch it. It's called the movie The Beyond. And you might think it's just another sci-fi movie when you start watching it. Trust me, watch it from beginning to end. Because what you're going to be introduced is, I think it's DARPA, but don't quote me on that. DARPA is the Defense Military's Research. It's an organization within the defense industry, DARPA. They're real well known. Just Google them. We'll Google them to non-consensual human experimentation and gang stalking. But anyways, in the movie... And you should also research NASA and non-consensual human experimentation and gang stalking as well. So let's backtrack for a second. If you watch this movie and you see, look at what's going on in the space industry right now. I mean, they're going to Mars. They're talking about creating modules and planetary and human habitations. Things for other planets, including Mars. Well, time travel is also another massive thing connected to transhumanism. You are absolutely going to conclude this when you watch the movie The Beyond. Now, when you look at what's going on in outer space concerning traveling from distance to distance, the body cannot withstand radiation for those long time periods. Neither can the bones. So why do you think so many radiation projects are occurring to gang stalking victims? So they can see how long it takes for the human body to come down with irreversible cancers, or maybe purposely cause them to come down with cancers, and then use new medical technology that can absolutely be medically induced remotely, okay, to see how well this new medicine might treat it. Oh, absolutely. There are things going on, my fellow American citizens, that you would not even ever imagine. Let me put it to you this way. The most extreme sophisticated forms of technology that is out there right now, that you had no clue that is out there, that costs tens and tens of thousands of dollars, that is mostly bought by well-known industries and the extreme wealthy, that ain't nothing. That is nothing compared to what the military has and what they're researching. It ain't nothing. I strongly suspect that the military is at least 80 years ahead of us. And when you look at the extreme forms of technology that is out there that the average person isn't even aware is out there, okay, including life longevity, where they're trying to extend the life of people. That's also another human experimentation project occurring to gang stalking victims. Genome research is another one. Brain-to-computer interface implants. Okay, spinal column implants, eye lens implants, nose implants, ear implants, eye lens implants, EMG implants, prosthetic implants. This is all. When you watch the movie RoboCop, that was made in 2014, and when you watch, look, even the movies, the Mission Impossibles with Tom Cruise, okay, the Stop 007 movies, okay, the latest ones with them, they're showing brain implants. It's fucking literally RoboCop, made in 2014, brain implants. Their most recent Total Recall movie shows implants. Just Google the hell out of what you see in those movies to the type of implants that you see in them to gang stalking. I mean, there's massive amounts of books on the internet right now. I got one in my backpack, okay, called Brain Implants and Messages, written by Dr. Hildegard Staninger, okay? Hildegard is one name, Hildegarde, Staninger. Excuse me. Okay? So, what I'm here to tell you, my fellow American citizens, is that this crime is treating gang stalking victims as little cattle. As literal cattle. I mean, imagine when you go to a hospital. This is a very elementary but very significant thing for you to understand. When you go to a hospital and you say you broke your toe, or say you broke a rib, and the doctor says, we need to give you an x-ray. When you go into that x-ray room, what do they put on you? They put on you a lead apron, so your body does not absorb the radiation from that x-ray machine. Well, let me tell you something about what they're doing to gang stalking victims. They're literally sending directed energy weapons, electromagnetic weapons, even x-ray, using even plasma and x-ray weapons against gang stalking victims' brains and bodies on a daily basis, including bio-encoded directed energy weapons, where they're literally sending radiation to the DNA of the victim. So go to YouTube and type in Roger Tulsos electronic harassment. Watch enough of his YouTube videos. You'll hear him openly expose it, as well as many other scientists and doctors who are online exposing it as well. So, if you were a victim of this crime, do you honestly think that you would not hate these satanic bitches who are doing this to you with every fiber of your existence? Well, of course you would. Oh, who wouldn't hate somebody that staged the rape of you? Okay, do you really honestly think that rape victim is not going to hate the satanic bitch who did it, the host who got that person to do it, and the satanic rats who protected it, including police? You're taking a fucking cop out of a police station, and you take him somewhere and stage the brutal rape of him. Do you honestly think that fucking cop is not going to hate the motherfucker for the rest of his life? Of course he will. Hold on. Just like you would. But what you got to understand about these 6 satanic, mass-murdering, depraved, demented animals is that they literally believe... Hold on. These wild whores who host this crime, a crime that's a little epidemic all over America. So research rape and gang stalking. Research human trafficking and gang stalking. What you gotta understand about these wild animals is they literally believe they got the right to do every single thing they're doing to each victim. Okay, now let me get back to the movie The Beyond just for a second. When you research at YouTube and Google gang stalking and Project 2045, I strongly suggest you watch at least 10 videos on YouTube concerning that. I mean, they're talking about mind uploading into synthetic biologies, robots, computer programs. What do you think the movie The Inception was about? Research mind uploading to gang stalking, remote neural monitoring. You know, research Neuralink, neural lace, brain implants to gang stalking, neural mesh. See, if you want, say if you're in the space industry and you want to start, and you look at all the research data, when you look at the movie The Beyond, you're going to see that the only way that they could send somebody in outer space, just hear me out, the only way that they could send somebody in outer space to go through a wormhole to try and see what was on the other side of it was to send something that was mechanical, because the human body could not endure it. Okay? It couldn't endure the radiation. It couldn't endure the attacks on the marrow of the bones. So, what do then? You create a cyborg. Now, research biorobotization and gang stalking. And you should also research NASA and human experimentation and gang stalking. And then when you research Project 2045 extensively at Google and YouTube, watch at least 10 YouTube videos, your mind is going to be flipping blown for the rest of your life. Imagine the photonic signals that are inside your neurons that process all your brain information being transferred to a fucking computer in order so that your mind sees a computer simulation. The Matrix. What do you think the movie The Matrix was about? Mind uploading. So research mind uploading, mind transfer, and mind hacking technology and gang stalking. Abso-fucking-lutely. Okay? So, going back to, I had to interject this about the space industry. I'm going to tell you why. Because why else would the government be subject to hundreds of, the government's the main implicated host. Okay? All intelligence agencies, fusion centers, state, county, and local cops, hospitals, medical centers, medical clinics, research groups, gang stalking going on all over the country at an epidemic level. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of victims. Tens of thousands of those are online exposing it, and the great majority of them are saying that they're being hit with radiation. So what the fuck would the government be doing radiation experimentations for? Do you honestly think that there's no interest concerning outer space and space travel? Because what is the main thing that is inhibiting mankind right now from reaching far out galaxies? Radiation. You can watch the movie Beyond through YouTube for either $2 or $3.99. And your mind is going to be blown. Absolutely. So, what do you see in the movie The Beyond? Well, it's going to be, what you're about to hear is going to be extremely descriptive and repulsive, but it's basically a head implant onto a roboticized body. Okay, but what happens to the head? She gets brain implants, throat implants, speech modulators. Google all that to gang stalking. Okay? Abso-fucking-lutely. See, what did I say a minute ago? What is happening to gang stalking victims? The military is massively implicated. The DOD, the DIA, and so on. Look, I look at it this way. You fucking made me a victim of a crime. You intruded upon every aspect of my life, mind, and body. Okay? Forcing me into this crime against my total will, okay, and committing extreme, horrific, heinous crimes on a daily basis, a crime that's going to probably lead to my death, non-consensually, horrific criminal realities, daily, non-stop, 24/7, while ostracizing me, while putting me in complete, extreme forms of destitution, the homelessness, and controlling it, and keeping it controlled, okay, against my will. Every single thing that has happened to me and is happening to me is completely against my will, including freedom of thought. concerning what's happening to gang stalking victims. Now, do you honestly think that victim who's completely powerless over what's happening to them does not got the right to expose every single fucking thing they know and or are experiencing? Of course they do. Just like you would. How precious are the children of these demonic whores who are hosting this? They got children. Why aren't they putting their children in these programs? Or are they? Or are some of them? I wouldn't doubt it for a minute. Oh, absolutely, because these people are demented beyond measure. The pathology, okay, the psychopathic and sociopathic pathology of these satanic mass murdering whores cannot be mathematically quantified. Literally. It cannot be measured. Okay? So, you ask yourself as a human being today, right now, how would you feel if somebody came into your home, took the money out of your wallet, and then said to your face, I'm going to take this money out of your wallet against your will, and I'm going to take it, and I'm going to leave the house, and I'm going to take that money, and I'm going to pay off a rapist to rape you. Just hear me out. I'm then going to take another portion of that money, so that can then fund, okay, the torture of you through radiation weapons. I'm going to take another portion of that money so I can pay off a cop so he can set you up to legal arrest you and put you in a jail cell and then have you assaulted. Because that's exactly what the fuck is happening with gang stalking crimes. They're using my tax dollars and your tax dollars to fund this sick shit. That is literally what is happening. Think about what I'm saying. Just picture in your mind somebody coming into your house, not uninvited. They're literally illegally, criminally coming into your house and demanding the money out of your wallet. And then taking that money and using it to fund every single fucking bad thing that happens to you. Because that's exactly what they're doing to gang stalking victims. And they're using non-victims' tax dollars for this sick shit. Because remember, for any government entity to fund illegal research projects, they need black money. Money made from human trafficking, drug dealing, arms dealing, and money that is generated from every other criminal operation that is going on. So do you honestly think that they're not going to protect those operations that then fund, that then create these black dollars? Of course they will. And they'll fucking use federal, state, county, and local law enforcement for it in a heartbeat. And won't think twice about it. How are you ever going to prove that the government tortured you if the funding of that torture was done through front groups, okay, who got black money? Well, have you ever heard of apparent authority? Apparent authority is that if you go into a business and that business manager and or employee does something against you that's illegal and you sue that business can't turn around and say it wasn't us that did it, it was the employee. No, because that employee took apparent authority to commit that crime against you. Now, when they create these front groups, like the CIA did back in the 70s and 80s, they've created front groups, funded them, and then the front group did it. So how are you going to follow the money if it's fucking black money to get back to the CIA? Do you really think that the satanic whores who are doing this, who are being paid for buying through black money, are leaving tax deductibles, paper trails? Of course not. Do you really think that research groups, including at universities, are going to let anybody know where that research came from and went to? Of course not. You know, you should research at Google Robert Gunn, Gunn, Michigan, remote neural monitoring, okay, and gang stalking. He was connected to two places I was massively gang stalked at. The Delonis Homeless Shelter in Ann Arbor, Michigan, that they covertly steered me to go through as a direct result of stealing $500 of post office money orders I buried in Ann Arbor. How did they steal them? How did they know where I buried them? Well, when you look at the prior videos dedicated to this account, you're going to see remote neural monitoring islands implants in my eyes. Which is also discussed in the YouTube video in the title of this Periscope video. They can see through your eyes and hear through your ears and much more. And then through the illegal GPS tracking of you, through many different means, which can include implants as well, barrel chips and so on, they knew exactly where I was and hid it. So they went and got it in order to create the need. How am I going to eat if my social services worker is creatively, intentionally keeping me off of food stamps, and then they rob me of my money? So I got to eat for the rest of the month. I had to hide my money because they were robbing me in Dearborn, which is why I went to Ann Arbor. So then, as a result of stealing my post office money orders, I then was forced to go to the DeLonis homeless shelter in Ann Arbor. He's directly connected to Washtenaw homeless shelters. And he was directly connected to U of M. And I was massively gang stalked for years on end on thousands of occasions at U of M in Dearborn, Michigan, and on a few occasions at U of M in Ann Arbor. Now, do you really think that's a fucking accident? So, my fellow American citizens, I made this video to enlighten your mind, to educate you about things that you might not know about. Where the fuck is the money coming from? I'm homeless right now where I'm at. They can come at me right now and stage an event using a child, a homeless person, a neighbor, a property owner as a direct result of GPS tracking me, knowing where I'm at, staging an event, using it to fucking arrest me. And if I'm put in jail for more than 29 days, I instantly lose my Social Security and my Social Services. And then if something happens in jail through a staged event, they can blame you for it, charge you with a felony, so when you get out, you can't get your money, you can't get your benefits back. You're now 5 steps closer to being sexually human trafficked because they control the charities, the food banks, the churches, concerning you being able to get to some place to get food. This is how bad the gang of gang stalking is, which is the gang of gang stalking, where they got the covert influence to privately collude with churches, food banks, homeless shelters, social services, Social Security, jails, cops, property owners, and the community connections of using anybody from a fucking child to a property owner to a neighbor to anybody. Why do you think they created the homelessness of me? To use it as a fucking non-stop control mechanism. If I expose too much, they stage an event. If I expose too much, they steal my camping gear, causing me to go through additional money to fucking to replace it. If they start targeting you with directed energy weapons, you got to spend money in order to be able to buy a bike and put and then accessories to put on the bike so you can move your shit from place to fucking place. And then they just track you to the next place and do the same thing. I've moved 30 times in a year and a half. So how do you think you would feel if this was fucking done to you? So you see these wild whores that are making hundreds of thousands of dollars off each victim, because the research data, when you're torturing a victim with directed energy weapon to the brain and or organs and or bones, that victim is being neurologically and biologically interfaced with through remote neuromonitoring. So they're seeing how the body's reacting to the torture. They're taking that data and harvesting it and taking that data and selling it to fucking research groups and making hundreds of thousands of dollars off it. While the victim is made homeless, lucky if they can afford a ramen noodle and a bologna sandwich, while they're harassed at their wooded area, creatively and covertly, absolutely, through sound harassments, through people fucking being propped up nearby to fucking say and do things that are directly connected to gang stalking, which is directly connected to the brain entrainment, verbal and visual harassment. So our life is nothing but nonstop torture, nonstop psychological violence, nonstop criminality beyond your mind's dimensions. While these satanic fucking bitches are making money off of every single second of suffering. And they're funny. I just saw a tweet on Twitter this morning where a person said the satanic bitches who are hosting this, their house payments are being paid for, their car payments, their vacations, their grocery bills, their kids' educations are all being paid for through the money made off of the torture of the victim. While the victim has no future, I fucking lost my ability to have children because of this crime. Think about how you would feel as a man if you were taken out of your home and taken to a place and put on a table and your private parts were snipped so you could no longer have a child. Same thing with a woman. Well, that's exactly what they did to me, metaphorically, through gang stalking. Imagine someone non-consensually, purposely causing you not to be able to have kids. Imagine somebody staging a brutal rape of you and getting away with it scot-free and then using the police to lie about it and even going as far as saying that it was your fault because you shouldn't have been in the neighborhood at the time. That victim leaving their home to escape torture and then was tracked to the area where they were raped. It's a fucking lunacy. So, welcome to Gang of Gang Stalking, where every sick bitch demonic rat plays their role. Thank you for listening, everybody. I apologize for the graphic descriptions that I made in this video and in my other ones. But I want you to know I expose these things so you can do research, so you can come to a comprehensive factual conclusion, and so you can know the depravity connected to these satanic mass murdering animals, because they don't give a shit. These little satanic bitches, in closing, will literally go to work in the morning, because a good majority of these syndicate members who are hosting this, it's a job to them, just like your job is 9 to 5 when you go to a grocery store and go to work. This is a job to them. They will literally go to work and sit at a conference table with other mass murdering whores, and they will take a file out of a file cabinet. And that file inside of it has got all the things connected that they know about the victim, that they have been able to learn about the victim through criminal surveillance. And then they say, okay, well, this is what we can do to this victim, and this is how we're going to do it. We're going to sell them into non-consensual human experimentation. This is who we can use for the staged rape. This is who we can use to create the homelessness. These are the mechanisms we can use for it. Okay? All right? And then they pass that file to another syndicated bitch who's sitting at the table with them, and that little whore gets up and he manages the entire fucking thing. And then they take that file and they start managing it. Then they go out to lunch and pass that file off to another syndicated whore who then is in control of other aspects that happens to the victims while they're fucking eating lunch. Meaning that they're passing a torture file amongst themselves as they're fucking, just like passing the butter at a dinner table. You should watch. You should go to YouTube and watch 3 human trafficking movies, like the movie Eden, the movie Trade, and other human trafficking movies. Because when you see the fucking mentality of these satanic little mess, these human trafficking animals, and what they do to women and men, this is exactly what they're doing to gang stalking victims eventually, by the worst of the worst. And P.S. in closing, for sure, it's even being more widely exposed on the internet by researchers that the torture the victim is enduring in real time. Meaning that, let's say if you got a victim, whether the victim is in a home or a tent or a business, when that victim is being hit with directed energy weapons to the fucking brain, meaning that their brain is being fried in real time, just like a hamburger is when you put it in a microwave, they can see that brain's responses on their monitor through their monitoring, and they're literally accepting money from people who want to watch it. That was exposed even in, I think, in one of the Techno Crime Fighters videos and in one of Ilana Freeland's exposures on YouTube when it comes to electronic harassment and gang stalking. That's a fucking lutely. You got to remember something about these wild whores. The only fucking thing they care about is money. And the researchers, the only thing they care about are the research results. They don't give a shit about nothing. Nothing else. Money, power, and controlling the crime to make sure it's never seen in the light of day in court, because these crimes are completely protected in court. They're completely protected through the police. They're protected from head to toe in all aspects of government, from governors to the Senate to the fucking Congress. They're completely fucking protected. How do you think they're able to achieve the torture, the non-stop sadistic torture of hundreds of thousands of Americans right now in real time? Tens of thousands of those are online exposing it daily. How the hell do you think something like that is able to be done without national exposure on the media? Because the media is controlled. How do you think the cops are fucking controlled at the federal, state, and local level? Because the entire program is controlled. The whole system is rigged. Prisons and jails are fucking controlled. And by the way, you should also research the private prison industrial complex. How they're fucking making federal dollars and state dollars off of each inmate. And how many of these prisons and jail detention centers are owned by organized crime that is owned by the system through front groups. Never fucking trust a cop for any reason, whether you're a gang stalking victim or not. And if you're a good cop, I suggest you get the fuck out now. Because they'll use you for 30 years and then fucking set you up to steal your pension. Make no friggin' mistake about it. And that includes federal officers, too. You gotta understand something about these satanic whores that run this fucking government. They will use you for 30 years, endlessly put you in harm's way as you're fighting crime, and then right before you fucking retire or right after, they'll target you and your whole family to go after your pension and to go after your kids. They'll fucking sell a cop's kid into human trafficking without thinking twice about it. Make no fucking mistake about it. So any good law enforcement that is out there, you better start listening to gang stalking victims, and you better start listening right now. Look, these satanic whores will even sell their own fellow syndicate members. These are the worst of the worst that have ever walked this planet. I've seen that being stated by scientists, doctors, researchers, ex-military personnel, ex-alphabet agency personnel. And in closing, go to YouTube and type in John Hall satellite terrorism. The only thing I don't agree with Dr. John Hall is that the psychiatrists at the local level, they know exactly what's going on. Because the doctors and hospital staff, they are one of the biggest ways this syndicate is making fucking money. So you better believe state, county, and local psychiatrists and psychiatrists and psychologists that work at hospitals, medical clinics, and medical centers, and even private psychologists and psychiatrists can be controlled, influenced, okay, or forced into cooperation. Because the main thing that is protecting this crime is the illegal use of national classification. Okay, security classification, which is a crime in and of itself. You cannot classify information to conceal a crime. That's an executive order. Google the hell out of that. Well, they're doing it anyways because they just don't care. The abuse of FISA courts. Google that to gang stalking. Google fake bogus criminal investigation files and gang stalking. It's a program. The only way that you can commit a crime like this on the mass scale that it's going on, committed on a daily basis against hundreds of thousands of people, and then protect it to make sure each victim stays entrapped in it for decades at a time, every day, week, month, and year of these decades. The only way that can be fucking protected to make sure that no crime against the victim is ever investigated. If it's not investigated, you can't prosecute it. The only way something like that can be perpetrated and the only way it can continue, including its protection, is a program through the government. The only way. You can't get a low level street thug who might be loosely or deeply or intimately connected to organized crime. You cannot get that asshole to walk into a bank or post office and have a postal supervisor or a bank manager involve themselves in an aspect of gang stalking that's done against the victim. Do you really think that a low-level street thug can go into a bank or a post office and get cooperation of a bank manager and or post office employee, okay, to get them to cooperate in doing things against the victim? Bank account liquidation, mail theft, mail delayment, mail tampering. Do you really think that some dumbass low-life street thug has got the ability to walk into a bank and privately collude with a bank manager and get the cooperation of him? Of course fucking not. Same thing with the post office. Same thing with institutions, libraries, grocery stores, restaurants, movie theaters. Of course not. The only entity on this fucking planet that's got that ability to do it and then to keep their fucking identity covert is the government. Google all those places I just mentioned to gang stalking. I gotta go. Thank you for listening. I strongly suggest that you research every single statement that's made in every single Techno Crime Fighters video series video. And I am going to start making some other videos concerning brain-to-computer interface implants and how they're used in gang stalking crimes. So stay tuned. And always know, as long as my videos that I make through Periscope can be saved in my files folder, my downloads file folder, I'll then be uploading those to YouTube. Can't do it at wooded areas because they're fucking massively jamming my phones. So thank you for listening. Everybody have a great day. I'll be talking to you later. I strongly suggest you research what I state. And then when you bring up the data from researching each description, you then are going to be able to start synthesizing the data from each description in order to have a larger pictorial understanding concerning the crime in itself. The entire aspect of the crime. Each description is part of the construction of gang stalking and how it operates. It's a piece of the puzzle. So, I hope you learned from this video. I gotta go because I got stuff to do. All gang stalking predictions and statements that I've ever made are an extreme emergency effect and remain so for the entire time while I'm a continued victim. That means that they do something I've ever discussed in private on tape recorders, cameras, YouTube videos, Periscope videos, statements in my blogs, which are all hacked and manipulated, email files. Anything that I've ever discussed, predicted, if they ever come true, it will continue to assist in proving this crime is being intentionally staged, okay, as a direct result of covert collusion and conspiracy. I have predicted 9 assaults that occurred to me. Every single one of my 8,600 audio files that shows identical verbal harassment I've endured for 9 years in San Diego, every single audio file of caught harassment, the harassment that was caught was predicted by me in tape recorders that it would be caught before I reached the environments where it was caught at. So if you don't think that my predictions, okay, are not a great way to prove this crime, trust me when I say sweethearts and baby cakes, it is. There is no way I can predict in my tape recorder at 9 a.m. at a wooded area, Okay, let's see if my tape recorder picks up anybody saying gang stalk, oh my god, suck dick, when I get to Vaughn's or when I get to the bus stop. And then I leave the wooded area, and by the time I get to the bus stop, it's 9:30. I get to the bus stop and somebody says it. I get to Vaughn's, somebody says it. The tape recorder reflects a later time from the prediction. I got 8,600 audio files of that. That's related to the sensitization technique of gang stalking, repeating words and phrases, repeating identical words and phrases. That's directly connected to auditorial brain entrainment. And the only reason why auditory and visual brain entrainment is occurring is for remote neural monitoring. So don't think for a second that my predictions do not afford me to the ability to prove what I'm enduring is being staged through conspiracy and collusion. I got hundreds of YouTube videos online already proving it. Okay? So I apologize that I stretched your ear a little bit, but I wanted to forward this information out there on the internet in the hopes of helping the American population understand what's going on in the hood. Because trust me when I say these satanic rats, they're in every neighborhood. They wear hoodies, okay? And they will definitely hoodwink you any and all chances that they get. And the only way that they can stay in a hoodie so you cannot see who's managing it is buying through the covert collusion. The whole goal is to set you up, to then set you up in exploitation. And the only way that they can set you up is buying through manipulating staged events, and as it also be done by manipulating the victim neurally before, during, or after any staged event. Before, during, or after any stage interaction the victim is forced to go into, like a court proceedings, an interaction with a doctor in a hospital, or through a jail. Illegal probate control schemes. That's one of hundreds of criminal motivations connected to gang stalking. Why do you think no victims of this crime can get any proof that they've been tortured with radiation weapons in hospitals? We'll go to Google and type in hospitals, medical centers, medical clinics, and faking test results and gang stalking. Okay? That's right, baby cakes. You can have a big-ass tumor on your brain tumor on your head, a cancer tumor on your head, but they won't allow you to see it in an X-ray or CAT scan. And if they do allow you to see it, they'll claim the cancer came from something else. Like if you're a gang stalking victim and you smoke, they'll hit you in the throat with directed energy weapons. You come down with throat cancer, and then they can just claim, well, you got it because of smoking. Okay? That's the fucking Lulu. Welcome to your sick bitch demonic government. I gotta go or I'll just keep talking. Everybody have a good day. Please stay tuned to this account. I strongly suggest you go into the profile of this account and watch all videos and make sure you research all descriptions. And then over time, you will know that each description is a piece of the puzzle. Through the research, you will then be able to construct the crime of gang stalking so you can walk away with the pictorial understanding in your mind concerning what it is and who are the mass murdering, satanic, human trafficking, raping animals who are hosting it. Everybody have a good day. Sorry about that. Everybody have a good day. I got to get my day started. I'll talk to you later, okay? Bye-bye.